All right, everyone, welcome to the monetization panel, May 2025. We have some amazing guests, new guests, Oscar, which we're really excited about, and a new lead of the roundtable, Talia, which we're also very excited about. And before we get into all that, we are pumped to say that this roundtable is brought to you by Neon Direct Checkout. If you're not familiar with Neon, it is in-game payments with zero Apple fees. I think if there's a more appropriate time, I don't think there is a more appropriate time than now to check them out. They streamline direct to consumer web stores to maximize your margins. I'm sure you're all aware of the new ruling, which we were just talking about between Apple and Epic. So now's the
Yeah.
time to get massive profit margins. I'm very excited about that for the industry. In terms of Neon, it's easy integration, no SDK or new build requirements, compliant for iOS players in the US. And I will say, just great people and awesome to work with. And I think one of their most important things is how closely they work with the developer. So if you are interested in DTC stores, improving yours, or test or working on one or building your own, check out Neon. Um, they are awesome. And thank you for sponsoring this roundtable.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brett, with the introduction regarding to that. I'm going to get us started right now with a very brief introduction of everybody. We're going to go through, we're going to meet the panelists, we'll do key takeaways, and then we'll get into the details and dive into what we had with the subscription report this month. Let's start with Shane.
Sure. Yeah. Quick background. I got into games in 2009. I was one of the first PMs at Zynga, and for the last 10 years, I've been a growth consultant and product advisor. And so, yeah, working with lots of teams. Um, my focus nowadays with teams is trying to figure out quickly identify and capture growth upside. So I have some streamlined processes around like discovery and then doing deep analysis to come up with a growth strategy. And yeah, and then advising as well.
Sounds good. Oksana?
Yes, so I have been working in game industry for over 15 years already. I run a consulting company that based in Andorra, and we help game studios boost their revenue, engagement, and monetization through smart live ops strategies, also through personalized offers and deep player segmentation. I have been fortunate to collaborate with top studios across different genres, and I also am speaker in international conference like GTC and Pocket Gamer Connect. Also, many people knows me uh, because I do some insightful posts on LinkedIn, and this is how I start to be more famous. I say that. So, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you for joining us. Oscar.
Hey, so I'm old and therefore have been doing games since '98. Actually, I did my first pitch for a game in '87, but yeah, let's not go into that. I basically worked on, I think the phrase that I'm told to use is pioneer. I'm not sure how true that is or not, but I worked on mobile, console, and PC gaming, online mostly. Literally wrote the book on games as a service, and I've just literally wrote the book on game economy design, which I submitted on Tuesday. So that's hopefully going to come out later this year. I'm in the middle of a fundraising process for a live ops strategy platform, and through things like Game Advanced Academy, we teach teams, some very large, very famous that I'm not allowed to mention, some very small indie people, the whole principle about live ops, monetization design, etc., etc.
Thank you very much, Oscar. So I'm Talia Shmuel. I'm going to be hosting the podcast today. My background is I actually got into the gaming industry late in 2014 when I started working for Polarium, where I told my boss I was going to be there for 2 years and then would move on, and only left after 10 years of digging into absolutely everything there was to know about games. Reverse engineering anything I came across, looking at it like an Excel sheet to understand how it worked across all genres. And that led me into working with people like Brett from the very beginning, and talking in panels and talking conferences, and now getting to host this panel. So I'm excited about that. Before I started off with the panel, when I first, Jennifer first reached out to me about the topic, the first question I asked her was, where are they in the games industry? Are they only mid-core, or are they also casual? Because I wanted to talk across the board about it. Subscriptions tends to be based a lot within the mid-core market, but let's talk more about that as we dive in. So, before we get into the discussion points, one of the questions that I wanted to ask each of you guys is, what do you define as a subscription? We talk about non-battle pass versus subscription. How does it compare, and is there a crossover between them? What is a subscription to you? Oksana, can you start off?
Yes, for me, it's more about if we will look at the items that we have inside the subscription, we can have the different subscription for different mechanic, but most important is that they will buy it for time. So it's the duration of subscription should be there, and pricing, and they can renew it. And sometimes we speak about the subscription that can be renewed automatically, and sometimes we speak about subscription that they need to come to the shop and buy it directly from the shop each time when the previous subscription is finished. So it's something that you buy for some time.
Shane, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Like, what is a subscription? When I think of subscriptions, I always think about, for some reason, I always come back to Amazon and Amazon Prime, because I feel like that, to me, is the epitome of a subscription. It's not the biggest in the world, but it's close. And so the idea of providing ongoing value in a direct customer relationship, and then figuring out how to evolve that over time.
Okay, Oscar, do you have anything to add?
Oh, I do love that phrase Shane used there, that provision of ongoing value. I think that's great. There's another way of looking at it as well, though, which is from a design point of view. If you look at it as a spectrum of exchange, so at one end of the spectrum, we do things, we grind, we play. We have other things through the process which are increasingly friction generating, but also engaging. So a rewarded ad has a level of friction in it, but it gives you an expectation of value. In-app purchase has more friction, but a higher expectation of value. And to me, the subscription is, like Oksana said, it's that reoccurring or maybe kind of occasional purchase of a period of value that I think is the sort of highest end of that spectrum. So it's part of the palette available to a monetization designer, and I would say it's at the furthest extreme of the friction that's engaged, but happens to coincidentally unlock some really interesting behaviors about retention. So yeah, lots of things you can talk about.
Okay. Let's jump on to the next slide, Brett, in regards to the discussion points that we're talking about. Now, in regards to the key elements that were highlighted on the elements, we've got the non-battle pass memberships, and there are two elements that are highlighted: the price range and the time range. Both of you, all three of you guys talked about this and touched on this when you were talking about your description. So as it is highlighted here, it ranges from 99 cents to $54. And we're talking about 1 day, 1 year. It's a huge scale. The question I would have is, how do they relate to each other? How do when you're looking at things, how do they go across the board when you are digging in to understand what is the best practice here?
So from my point is subscription must fit different player motivations, spending capacity, and genre mechanics. So when we think about in-apps or subscription, first of all, we need to understand the needs of the users, what kind of needs they satisfy inside the game, how we, through the gameplay and through the mechanics, help them to satisfy those needs, how we can monetize them on that. And we definitely need to understand that players have different needs, and we should give the deeper for the different players, we should give something that they will want to. So that's why, for example, for the users who prefer low risk short-term benefits, we will give the shorter subscription, and also this subscription will help us to convert them to much more longer subscription, because they will see the value, they will feel the pleasure from having and understand what it gives to them. So, but for example, monthly membership will hit a sweet point for the users who know that they will be engaged, who are ready to spend more, who are ready to spend not only in terms of the time, but also in terms of the money, to make sure that they will reach their goals inside the game. So each time when we think about when, how, for how long, and for what price, we need to understand that players are different, and to make sure that we will cover the main audience, we need to give them ability to choose based on their preference. So this is my point.
We've seen in different games where it's spread throughout, and that's where you pull in to have sometimes this wide range within a single game. But have you seen particular genres where you seem to fall into a particular range? The 99 cents subscription, I haven't seen that across the board. But I'm seeing more, $5 to $15, $20. When we're talking about which genres this range is falling in, the high price versus the low price, what have you seen, and what do you think are the best practices for it? Is it good for that genre? Is it something that maybe could be switched up depending on players? What are your thoughts, Shane?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this. Like Oscar was saying, it's a tool in the toolbox. So I think it depends on the problem you're trying to solve. So for your particular game, what is the right price point or mix of price points will depend on what you're trying to accomplish. So for example, if and your situation will be contextually different from another game. So if you have not that great a retention, you may be more casual, you might want to go with lower price points, shorter commitment durations. But if you have, really loyal, highly engaged, high retaining game, then yeah, maybe go for bigger price points. Maybe you're targeting existing spenders in whales and giving them a premium experience. So it really depends, I think, on the situation. There's a lot of right answers.
I have so many thoughts. If you don't mind me jumping in on there. So, I mean, first thing, I just want to say, can we stop using the term whale? It's a gambling metaphor. It doesn't fit game players. Now, there are high spenders, but they tend to be, and again, I know I'm using my own blinkered perspective. And by the way, I'm saying these things deliberately to be provocative. I don't necessarily want people to necessarily agree with me. If we think of whales, we're thinking about the folks that are going to turn up at Vegas with 50 grand, and they don't leave until they've spent all the money, and they're trying to stay as long as possible. That's a different mindset than the people who are super fans of your experience. And we've been talking about this for over 10 years as being a transitional way of thinking, and yet we're still using the term whale. There's more a fundamental question. I mean, yeah, good to have high spenders, by the way. I like high spenders. High spenders is a great thing. But this is, I think, where I'm going to be a bit fairer to Shane. Sorry, wasn't having a go at your comment there, Shane. It's just a personal bugbear I've got. Jane's absolutely right about understanding it as part of the toolkit, as part what you're trying to achieve with your game. And I think one of the things we've got to think about is if we come at the perspective of player value first, player value is what allows us to build engagement. Engagement equals retention. And it's through retention that we generate our revenue. And so what we're looking for is a transition process to take players through their journey of how engaged they want to be with your game to maximize their utility and value in the game. And that, done well, more than magnifies their spend. And when we get that balance right, what we end up with is effectively compound interest, essentially. The power of compound interest to transform the monetization of any industry is enormous. And we get to do that through game design. I think that's massively important. Pricing
Okay.
is one of the
Sorry, go
4
ahead.
Ps for a reason. It's a skill and an art in itself, and we mistake that at our peril.
We're just going to take a quick look here, looking down this list. And when I was looking at this report, the first thing that jumped out at me is that they're all mid-core. Everything that is on here, there's almost nothing on here that could be classified as a casual. Why is that? And how could you put a subscription into a casual game?
This is almost a blue ocean in some ways. I have seen some smart packaging, because all these subscriptions are packaging of value. And so sometimes a subscription just has to be understanding what is the value point where somebody goes, this is my hobby, this is my go-to equivalent of the coffee break that I do with my phone. And I think there's no inherent reason why it can't be casual games utilizing these kind of non-battle pass and battle pass style mechanics, provided we reframe them and put our minds into that audience and help them see this is the stuff that they love. Let's maximize their value in the game.
I'm wanted to answer can casual games do anything addressed to it? Less than 1 month ago, I started to play game Magic Sword. I did the post today because I'm so passionate about this game and I love it. And this game put me in a state of the flow when I just playing and I don't understand how time spent. When I started to play it, I played 60 levels in a row. I couldn't stop. And it's for me, like an expert, and I always analyze some stuff. It's a great experience. But then they started to ruin so heavily with live ops, with pushing monetization and so on. I'm like, what's going on? You're killing the game. You're killing the game for me as for a player. And exactly the first thing that I thought about this game, I want a subscription. I want like 15 minutes, like 1 hour each day, just 15 minutes a few times a day. And they will help me to return to the game, create the habit, and I will pay for that. And I will save this subscription because this led me to enjoy the game in the way I want, not in the way they try to monetize this game. And this is what I think many companies don't understand about subscription. To do the great subscription, you need to understand what kind of needs the player satisfied and give them this opportunity. No, I will not participate in all of their events. I started and all they connected to the streak and they monetize through the streak. And this part I didn't like at all. And it's not the way how you should monetize. It's the way how you should lose the users, and you will lose it. But if they will do subscription and send me like $10 per week, and you will be able to play without losing the life for 1 hour during the day, and even if it will be a session like 15 minutes, they already increased session duration, number of the session, retention, and my monetization, because I will pay $40 for a month immediately. And this is how we should look at that. Yes, the casual games can and should do the subscription, but they need to understand the users firstly. And yes, we also need to understand what we want to achieve when we do some monetization stuff and so on. But if the users don't like it, you will never receive the money from them. We pay only what we bring us enjoyment. Joy. That's it.
That is such
So
a concrete way of putting it all together. It is an amazing summary of it. I agree with you. A lot of the mid-core game, or a lot of the gaming companies are afraid to take the jump for the casual market because you think, oh, these are casual players. They're never going to do it. Except you can put anything you want into the shop. The players who will use it will use it. The players who won't use it won't. You can even, test it out and see, is it worth it? Is it something that your players would be interested in by putting it in as a mechanic? There's a game, Hero Wars, that has one element in the game that if you buy it every 2 weeks, each time your benefit that you get raises a little bit. This would have been a perfect gateway subscription in to see, are my players going to use it without saying it's a subscription? But that, for all intents and purposes, of what it is. You have to buy it before it expires the next time, or you lose the extra benefits on it. Now, we're talking about lots of different ways of enticing players to use it and how to go through and how to get them to start out. We're going to get into the specifics of the rewards later, but when you're talking about trying to hook the player for a first-time purchase, what type of incentives have worked best for you? Shane?
Yeah, the free trial works great. So giving them a taste, but they're already committed to the subscription. I mean, most games will do that. There's also, I haven't seen it used as much, but a no card free trial is also a good approach, where you don't force them to commit to anything, but you let them try it and then it runs out. Kind of like giving, seeding a player's wallet with a premium currency, a similar effect. So both of those, but the running out, having a timer, having an expiration, it helps with conversion, obviously, because of the scarcity and urgency. They feel pressure to make a decision. And if you've done a good job communicating the value, they're much more likely to convert.
I think that some games have a great way to reward users for several subscription in a row, and definitely it's something to look at. And also, we can think not only to motivate them to subscribe next time, but we give them advantages during the way, like thank you for being subscribed with us next time, this time, or for 5 times already, and you can increase the reward for that. So the players should understand that the developer give them some thank you as a reward to make sure that they will stay and play. And for sure, if it will not give the value that will help them to feel more joy from the game, it will not work out.
So a couple of things that come to mind. The first thing is free trials only work if you're foreshadowing what you're going to get. And the unboxing of the thing that you get is so good that you just want to keep doing it. So you've got to think of the context of things like trials in what they do. And if anyone's interested, I'll bore you on why trailers versus trials, etc., failed on Xbox and various. There's some great data around that area. But the other thing I think is worth thinking about is an experiment. Probably the one thing I saw that was really exciting was this is the early days of video rewarded ads, 2014-ish. the idea of being able to, instead of giving someone currency, you give them a bundle of a new thing that they can try out, or you give them a skin that they can use, but only get to keep for 3 plays. And then after the 3 plays, you take it away from them and you give them a discount, a one-time discount to get it at half price or 20% price or whatever. The idea of being able to package exceptional value. But the reason why I like the rewarded ad model, although there are some questions, the reason I like the rewarded ad model is because it says that this thing has a value to it. This has a cost to it. I'm not just giving you something away for free. You're going to give me eyeball to get this thing. Therefore, you're imbuing the item, the trial essentially, with inherent value. And I did see a note Sharon saying about people turning off ads. I've actually found that turning off ads doesn't demonstrably benefit the retention of those players. In fact, turning off ads and not letting people do rewarded ads can actually inhibit retention. So anyway, I won't bore it forever on that. That's my experience. I suspect, Shane, you've had different experiences, but this is the stuff that we as designers and economy people need to keep talking to each other about, because we all find different experiences with different games.
Yeah, I can
Um,
respond. I meant interstitial ads. Rewarded ads
Yeah. Oh,
can
yes.
be
Oh,
a
yeah.
net positive even for players. Yeah.
Yeah. Felix Braven and I have a very long debate about it on a podcast I've yet to put out, where he chastises me for my bias towards rewarded ads, and love Felix a bit. And he is a smart guy, and his arguments are really good. Again, I'm with you on the interstitial ads. I think Felix might happily say back to us, but everyone's different, and there'll be a cohort of people that actually find the interstitials useful. And I kind of get that to a certain extent.
Okay, so Shane, when you were talking earlier and when you were talking about this, you had mentioned the time and the amount of time going around this and surrounding this, the claim it or lose it versus the you can collect it at any time. So do you think there's a difference here between how it affects the game?
If you claim it or lose it, yeah, I mean for sure, because this you have a screenshot, looks like a Galaxy of Heroes. Um, these drip mechanics with the subscription, where you have to show up or you lose it. I mean, it's basically creating you're tapping into loss aversion and opportunity costs. So if I don't show up and I've already prepaid for something, I'm losing money. I'm losing value that I've already paid for. So it creates a strong compulsion. I've seen it work well in games like early on, even before mobile. I saw some games doing something like this successfully, and they would just, for not very much money, create a drip to try to get you to come back as many times as possible in the month. So it works well for that. In terms of changing the game, it depends. I mean, if it's a heavy penalty, uh, most of these, I think it's a small upside. It's an optimization. If it's a heavy penalty, that's probably a different thing. In those cases, you might want to auto grant players if they don't show up. If they're spending $50, a month or something, one of these higher price points, they're going to be pretty upset if they don't get their value.
I've seen personally, in Summoner's War, for instance, they've got their 30-day login for the month, and the really good rewards are at the end, but you only collect on the days that you log in, which means the minute you lose a day, you've lost that last reward, that biggest reward. Do you think it affects players repeating on the subscription or cutting off the subscription?
I mean, probably, I don't know how that's done, but in my experience, players get pretty upset when you take things away from them, or
Okay.
they feel cheated. So I'd be interested to see what the reviews say for that subscription. I'll go check after this.
Okay, Oscar, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Shane, you're onto something there. I think that we always have to be careful about overburdening players with expectations, because this is their choice to play the game. If we try to dictate their time frame, eventually we find ourselves creating too much friction, in my experience. But there's interesting stuff because we can play with other techniques. So you can present exactly the same problem, so claiming time, by using things like capacity. So how many of the lovely collectible things can I store? Well, it racks up in my backpack, but if my backpack's full, I can't claim those things. That's not the fault of the game. That's the fault of me not coming back. But it feels less punishing. And it also means that we've got other opportunities to retail because I can sell you a bigger backpack. So little things like that, and whether that's selling it directly or part of the VIP, it's an interesting way of having a difference between a VIP or a free player. The VIP player has a smaller backpack. Sorry, a bigger backpack. The smaller one goes to the free player. Just we can be smarter about how we make it feel more engaging to players.
Talking about engaging to players and utilizing subscriptions in that manner. What about gating content behind payment methods? Heroes, stages. How did your players respond, and what did you learn from them in the process?
In my experience, the best way to do this is to give the hero that they will not be able to receive easily from the game. This helps a lot. And some other valuable stuff that will help progress but not influence the core progress. If we'll speak about casual games, I think that or slots games also they use ad removal, boosters, multiplier, and life refills. Like my life will refill much more faster if I will be buy subscription, and I think that it's useful because many players like the stuff that they use each day. And when you do subscription and they know that they have like plus 10 lives that they can use, or some boosters, they will be engaged more in with the game, and it will help not only to monetize them but engage them and help them to progress. I think that the other thing that I noticed inside the game, especially in RPG games and strategy games, what I like, they connect the subscription to the different mechanics and function inside the game, and it's mean that user can buy one or several subscription based on their preference, how they want to play and in which feature they involved much more, and it gives variety to the players to choose only the stuff that they like and feel that they paying for something that they will enjoying during the way. Also, I like the way how some games do this. They give some event currency and connect it to the events. So it's immediately you don't give the direct currency to the users. You give them not only the currency, let's say that, but also the event currency that they will use in events. So you involve the users not in only in the main in core gameplay, but also in events, and help them understand the features by adding some feature currency or points or something like that. And I think it's a great way to look at that. This subscription will work not only on monetizing and engaging users, but also involve them to different mechanics, different events that you have in your game. And especially if you know that, for example, 60% of the users participate in this event and highly involved in it, and they want to pass from stage 1 to say stage 16, give them a chance by giving some points in subscription. It will help you to increase the conversion.
What I did is I pulled together, because there were a couple of slides that went into the details, talking about consumables, talking about persistent perks, exact limit versus limited actions and unconventional perks. But I wanted to pull all of this together into a comparison and talk about all of these things together. And we've seen that memberships often combine daily consumables and persistent perks, but how do you balance the immediate versus the long-term value in the monetization system? Oscar, do you want to start with this?
That's I was typing away on gating because I had so much I wanted to say on gating. Anyway, so I mean, in some ways, so I have a different kind of way of breaking down these rewards. I'm not going to go into that for today. You can read the book when it comes out, but I think fundamentally understanding what is the value proposition and how you think not just about the things that you're delivering in terms of experience, but the way that they're packaged. And you think about things like consumables, you think about kind of unconventional perks, and stuff. A lot of it is actually thinking about the vector in which the player engages with your game. And packaging that into an experience is going to be really essential. Now, to me, it's again thinking about that friction that I mentioned before, that I'm playing a game. Where are the friction points about the points where I'm converting my play to watching an ad, to paying for an app purchase, to eventually getting to larger regular payments, whatever that might be. That all happens when I can see the value proposition, when I understand it, and when I have a moment in play where it matters to me, where it deeply emotionally matters to me. And that means that we have to understand the value proposition we're delivering and how we make that happen. But we can flavor that. For example, what we talked about, the gating thing you talked about earlier. Would you call a paid ticket tournament in Golf Clash a gating process? Would you say that a VIP tournament league is a gating process? Now, I'm using gating there, but actually there's also something fundamental about that. If we're packaging as part of a paid tournament versus a subscription tournament, we're actually saying something about how we're dividing up our audience, how we're creating a sense of being special, and it's basically coming up with how we turn our focus on the rewards for the player that happen to deliver revenue for us.
Shane, how do you decide what type of rewards to
Yeah.
offer in your specific genre? You're talking about casino or match 3 versus RPG or action. Are there specific rewards that you found work particularly well in the different genres that you've worked on?
Yeah, I have, and some thoughts to add on to what Oscar said, I think overlaps here. Yeah, I mean, I think immediate gratification after you convert on a subscription and advertising that. So when you're at the point of trying to decide, do I purchase this thing or not, and you're trying to evaluate the economic upside of spending that money, having an immediate bonus that they'll get right when they convert makes that a little easier. So you're going to get better conversion if they can, with very easy napkin math, realize, oh yeah, I'm going to come out ahead. This is a great deal, even if I don't show up every single day. So I think in the pile of different options you have of what rewards to give, an immediate benefit is great for conversion and getting them into the program, even if you don't have a trial. The persistent perks, I think, is sort of gives you like a steady, ongoing reminder benefit where every day, ideally, this program that you're offering, I've had a lot of success with VIP and loyalty type subscription plans. So the more you can remind them, oh yes, I bought this thing. Maybe there's social proof. Maybe your badge is a different color or your frame is a different color. Oh, I can see how many other people have done this. Those reminders, I think, help with retaining as a subscriber and renewal rates. So I think that's really important. Social surfacing, and like that's where I think perks would fall. And then other than that, it also depends on when and how you're integrating the subscription. Is this a brand new game you're designing from the beginning? You have a different set of options available to you with subscriptions. But if you're bolting this on to an existing title, you might have to create premium experiences in your different features to justify value. Maybe there's some rough edges in a few spots. I think Oscar mentioned a little bit of this where you can improve the user experience if you were to add some extra features. Well, if you do that, introduce a subscription and you add those as part of the subscription, then people will see immediate value and they're like, oh man, I'm so glad this exists now. I've always needed this. And then the last thing is just, yeah, exclusivity. There's for VIP programs, which I've seen do well, players really appreciate the idea that, depending on the game type, where they can play, especially in casino, like play maybe higher stakes or like a more challenging, if it's a competitive game, they want to play against the highest skilled and most serious players in the audience. And so that exclusivity benefit can really improve their overall experience and retention, not just of the subscription.
Going back to what Alex actually asked earlier today, or earlier in the discussion right at the beginning about the power creep, Oksana, how do you ensure the long-time value without the power creep or making rewards feel too slow? How do you make it so it's not cannibalistic?
When we give them opportunity to buy the subscription for 1 year, we need to understand the users very good to make sure that we can give them something that they will use during this year. For me, it's more about the main gameplay and how user play inside the game and how often they participate in different features and different events. Because what is important, if I subscribe for 1 year, I need to make sure, first of all, it will help me to progress through the game and gameplay will support it and it will give me the willingness to proceed. And also, if it gives me high advantages that other users will not have or they will need to spend a lot of time to achieve it. So from my perspective, the main thing is value here. And because if you want to make sure that the user will stay inside the game for 1 year and he will pay you now, you should give the advantages that will support this action.
What metrics would you be watching to make sure that it doesn't disrupt the rest of the game?
First of all, we need to see and understand for any subscription, let's say conversion rate and renewal rate, we will need to look at. But in terms of 1 year subscription, you will see it in 1 year, so it's far away. But you should see daily activity from subscribers. You need to see how the RPPU and LTV uplift start to be different from after they purchase it. How they claim the rewards each day or each week, depends how you manage to do this inside your game. And you definitely need to understand how their behavior start to be different since they subscribe and pay for the subscription. Because what you can see from them, you cannot see the results from the first 2-3 weeks, if we will say about the yearly subscription, but you can see already how the behavior of the users start to be different. Does this help them come more often and spend more time, or they start to spend much more less time because they know that they have this amount of the currency, soft currency, premium currency, this boosters and so on, and it's cannibalize your revenue. And what also important, the retention and the interest of the player, because sometimes if we give too much to the players, they lose their interest, the challenge. This is what brings them back inside the game. The challenge that they feel, if they will feel bored because they already have this stuff and they will build whatever they want and be much more stronger in the battles or whatever, it will ruin your game.
Absolutely spot on. For those who don't know, there was a period of time before the iPhone where there were some massive scandals about the use of subscription models around wallpapers and ringtones and Java games, where a lot of consumers were being exploited ruthlessly. Now, this is particularly an issue in the UK. I believe it was also an issue in the US at the time, but I'm talking about 2006-7, where it was the peak of that era, and it actually had a very cooling effect on people's willingness to trust games on mobile at all until the iPhone came out.
To wrap up, we've got 6 minutes left. Each of you, what is the key learning thing that you want somebody to take away regarding subscriptions from your experience?
I think figure out what you want to add to your game first. So like why do you want to put a subscription in? So that you don't lose sight of that. And for me, if I was to suggest something to work backwards from, I think taking a step back, looking at your game and thinking, if I was a payer, what's the minimum level of experience that I would like to have? How could I create a premium experience that casts the widest net and gets people to come back as often as possible? And I might suggest starting with a very low bar and price point to see what your maximum conversion rate can be. And if you get people to show up, then they might make other purchases. So there could be, side effects, positive side effects from even having a low monetization if you can get high conversion rates, and then experiment from there. That'd be my advice. And you can always add higher tiers or specialty programs. And I've seen games with multiple subscriptions or tier subscriptions, and it works fine.
I think that when we think about subscription and any monetization method that we want to implement inside the game, first of all, we need to find the connection between our goals and what the players want. From my side, first of all, if I will work with the client, I will ask, what is your goals? I will play the game as a player, and I understood my goals as a player, paying in the user and non-paying users. And I will start with a small price but very valuable offer for non-paying users to make sure that they will enjoy the game and they will stay in the game and they will not feel that it's only for the paying users. And also from my experience, not only as an expert but as a player, I'm ready to pay for some stuff that will help me to fulfill and feel the enjoyment from the gameplay and help me to do it in a better way. So from my perspective, just try to understand where the connection between the player, game, and core gameplay that you have, and events and so on, and the player needs. And when you understand it, it will be much more easier for you to monetize them.
Shane and Oksana, you both nailed the kind of most important factors, but there is a left field thing I'm going to chuck at you. Subscription without upsell equals death. Now, the reason I say this is if you are going to sustain an experience over the long term, which is the point of a subscription experience, you need the ability to be able to continue to develop innovative, interesting things, because you need to keep finding new audiences and you need to find new things for your existing audiences to do. But subscription caps their ability to invest in your game. So if you don't have the ability to provide some level of upsell, what you end up with is the inability to actually tap into the genuine desire and value that players want to get from your game. And therefore you need to think very carefully about that. The reason I think we're seeing such problems with things like Xbox Game Pass and the subscription, which is fantastic, is that they've stopped churning content out. So we've got a tyranny of content. There's too much to decide what we want, and it becomes boring. And the people who get the benefit of that content are getting diminishing returns. I could bore for hours on subscription like this, but the key thing is just remember why you're doing it. If you're just giving a cap to how much people want to spend, you've missed the point of what subscription gives.